welcome back to my YouTube channel. This video is part 2 of the Q&A that I did last month. So I put on Facebook, Instagram and on YouTube. Did anyone want to ask me any questions? And I would answer them honestly. I did 10 last time because I thought if I did all of them, it would just drag out, you know. Some of the questions have been repeated, like several people asked the same thing. So I've just narrowed it down a little bit. And I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more to answer. So I thought I'd answer them today. So I'm going to look down because obviously things are written down on my phone and I've made little notes to make sure I get all the names right and everything. So I'm going to look down, and the first one is from Andrea. Hi Andrea. Andrea has said, if I could change anything about myself, what would it be? Do you know what? I think I'd change my metabolism. I think it would be my metabolism, because if I could change my metabolism, a load of other problems would go out the way. Yeah, I used to, years ago, you know, I used to have a really good metabolism. I wasn't overweight or anything. Even after I had like my last child, which was my 6th child, I wasn't at all overweight. Yeah, and then just with illnesses, medication, menopause, all the rest, it's just come on. And to be honest with me, my weight gain has always been in my middle, sort of around my stomach, you know, tops of my thighs. Everywhere else isn't too bad. And if I lose weight, it goes off of the other places first. So it just seems to take ages before I can like see any real results around the tummy area. I used to have a really good metabolism, I guess. But then having said that, I was like rushing around with 6 kids, you know. Yeah, it definitely, I've gained tons and tons of weight. As I say, you know, some of it is down to medication and illness, of course, and some of the other is because I probably eat I do eat too much. You know, it's not like caused by alcohol. I do like the odd drink or two, but it's not regular. I don't drink. I'm not somebody who drinks every week or anything like that. So I could never blame my weight gain on alcohol. I guess Chris and I just like good food. That's what it is. So I have been trying to cut down again. I find that diets, they don't really work long term. They don't for me anyway. I've followed Slim & World, calorie counting, and it's great. You lose weight on all of those, but it's just keeping that weight off. Now, I find the minute I'm having to think about food, i.e. if I'm on a diet, so I'm thinking about what, you know, preparing for my next meal, what can I eat, working out the calories, then I'm constantly thinking about food. And so I feel like I'm deprived or hungry, and, you know, and obviously I'm not. So all we're doing at the moment is just cutting back on portion size, that's all. So if I fancied a cup of tea and 2 biscuits in the afternoon, I'd have that. What I wouldn't have is a cup of tea and half a packet of biscuits. So, do you know what I mean? You can still have what you want, but in moderation. But yeah, if I could change anything, it would be my metabolism. Speed it up a bit, speed it up. Okay, next question is from June. Would you like to move? Yeah, I would. Not necessarily area. I love where I live. I mean, we live in the sort of the south, on the south coast of England, and it's lovely here. The climate is nice. You know, we don't have harsh winters. We have good summers. So the area is really nice. I probably wouldn't want to change area, but I would like to change to a bungalow. I need a bungalow in my life. I don't really want to go into a flat or an apartment. I'm just not ready for that yet. But I think we really need to have a bungalow. You know, we need one level living. I think because As most of you know, I've got rheumatoid arthritis. I also have a fair few other illnesses, which I'll get onto in a minute because somebody has asked me that question. But sometimes when I need to go to the toilet, I need to go to the toilet now, and I have to get all the way up the stairs. Sometimes it's a nightmare, and sometimes it has been impossible. Let me tell you that now. I mean, we don't have a downstairs toilet. The house that we live in, it's a 1930s house. We could, or our intention was, to put in a downstairs toilet. And then, you know, we was just sort of saving up for that, along with a lot of other things. So we weren't specifically putting money aside just for that, but for lots of other things. And then, of course, the pandemic came, didn't it? Because I'm self-employed and I work as looking after dogs in my own home when people are on holiday. I've done that for maybe 10, 11 years, maybe getting on for 12 now. Been doing it for a long, long time. So it's not something that I've recently got into. I know a lot of people have suddenly started to do it because of lack of work, and you know, in the last few years I've seen a lot more sort of home dog boarding businesses start up, but I've been doing mine for quite a long time now. And I love it, absolutely love it. But of course, people weren't going away on holiday. So if they weren't going away on holiday, then we didn't have to look after their dogs. So yeah, money's been a bit tight really. I'd still like to have a downstairs toilet. Would we like to move? Of course, yeah, I would. But realistically, can we afford to move? No, not really. Properties are selling really, really quickly at the moment. I think a lot of people are taking advantage of like the stamp duty situation, but also prices, certainly for bungalows, have risen tremendously. So no, we can't really afford, because we don't have a mortgage on this house anymore. We have cleared our mortgage, and obviously because Chris is older, I mean Chris is 71 now, he's retired, but I say he doesn't work because he does, he works with me, you know, like helps me out with the dogs and sort of does the dog walking and stuff like that. But of course we haven't had any of that, have we? So yeah, we can't, like, you know, sort of too old to get another mortgage. I wouldn't want another mortgage. Having got through and paid a mortgage off, yeah, I just wouldn't want to do that again. You know, at least, you know, you've always got a roof over your head. So realistically, would it happen? I don't know. Do you know what? I don't know if it ever would happen now. I might have to just hope things, well, they are slowly returning to normal. So maybe in time we can save up enough money and sort of get a downstairs toilet done. That would be ideal. Downstairs loo would probably sort a lot of things out. So that's the answer to that. A bit long-winded, I know. Right, next one. Karen said, or more about Chris. So Chris is, I've already said he's 71. He has exactly the same birthday as me, but a different year. So it's June the 21st. And so when we first met, we were just sort of like chatting, and I said, oh, how old are you? What's your date of birth? No, I said, what's your star sign? And he said, Gemini. And I said, oh, so is mine. You know, and then he said, when's your birthday? And I said, June the 21st. And he went, so is mine. And I, yeah, okay, yeah, great up chat up line that was, you know. And I said, well, next time I see you, bring your passport then. And he did, and it was. So yeah, we share the same birthday. I don't know if it's good or bad. I mean, we obviously can't ever forget each other's birthdays, and it is quite nice to think that we share something, you know. But then we tend to get, not always, but we can get a lot of joint presents, which is nice. I'm not saying I don't, you know, but it's nice to open your own present, right? Yeah, so Chris, he was born in London under the sound of the Bow Bells, so he can legally call himself a Cockney. He did the 11 plus at school and passed it, so he went to grammar school, which meant from where they lived, he had to get, at the age of like 11, he had to get a bus, a train, the underground, a train and then walk to school. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine letting your 11-year-olds do that these days? We just wouldn't, would we? But yeah, he passes 11 plus. He's done several jobs over his lifetime, including memorial headstones. Yeah, he did headstones. So yeah, you know, like the memorial headstones. A couple of stories I can tell you about those, honestly. He had me cracked up when he was telling me. One was that, you know, he was just there and he was putting on the, you know, they were doing the headstone, etc., etc., etc. And there was this guy just sat back watching, and they didn't really pay any attention to him. They just knew somebody was watching. And then after they'd finished it all, the guy went over and said, "Oh, thanks for doing that. You've made a grand job of my, you know, my dad's grave." Gave them a tenner each for it, and it was Mick Jagger. Yeah. And then another time, him and his mate, they went to, obviously, you know, to work, and they were in the graveyard, and this was way back before mobile phones or anything. I mean, this was in his youth, and they saw these legs sticking out from under the hedge in the cemetery, and they were like, "Oh my God, what's that?" Somebody's there, somebody's laying there. So they went over, and Chris sort of like gently kicked the legs, just sort of nudged them with his foot. Nothing, no movement. Did it again, still no movement. They could see that there was a whole person, like a body in the hedge with just the legs sticking out. So he had to he had to find the nearest phone box and phone the police. Like I say, no mobiles or anything. So he had to phone the police, and they were like, and he said, "I'd like to say that we found a body." They were like, "Yeah, whereabouts, you know?" And he was in the graveyard. So of course they were like, "Yeah, Sonny, you know, that's enough now, you know, no more jokes. Of course you found a body in a graveyard." And he's like, "Honestly, we found a body in a graveyard." Anyway, the police turn up. This sort of like the Bobby on the beat comes along on his bike, kicks the guy. No, nothing at all. But you could see that there was a body there. Kicks it again, and then there was movement, and the guy sort of woke up. It was a tramp, and he was like, he like had all his booze and gone into a great big deep sleep. And but Chris said it frightened the life out of them. But there's loads of little stories like that. Anyway, yeah, so he did that, and he's done several jobs over the years, you know. I mean, he left school at 15, and 15 years and one day he'd started a job. That's what it was like back in the day, right? Wasn't it? You know, you could just go straight into work. And then sort of, let's just like go so many years forward. When I met Chris, he was working for UBS, which is a Swiss investment bank in the city of London. That's where he was working when I met him. And obviously he's retired now, but we had a great life. Yeah, we had a lot of perks from Chris working there. The bonuses were really good. We were treated a lot. If you needed to work a Saturday or something, they would say, you know, bring your wife up and get her first class ticket on the train. We'll have a car to meet her at Waterloo, and then book yourself into blah blah, any hotel that you want. You've got an American Express card which was on the bank, you know, just use that. Take her shopping, take her out to a show, and all he had to do was go into work for like half an hour on the Saturday. That was it. I mean, we had loads of little perks like that. It was amazing. But you know, all good things come to an end, don't they? But grateful for what we had. And so yeah, he's retired now, but I mean, it would take me forever to tell you everything about him, I suppose. So I'm gonna go on to the next question. Emily said, what medical problems do I have? I think I covered these in the last ones, Emily, but I'll just very quickly just say what I've got. I have got rheumatoid arthritis. I've got an underactive thyroid gland. I have got a lung disease. I've got diabetes. I haven't had any for well over a year now, but I used to pass out quite a lot, but I don't know why, but they've stopped, thank goodness. And I had a heart monitor fitted here in my breast here, and the machine works for 3 years, and it sends all my readings to the hospital, etc. And now the batteries run out on that, and I don't need to provide them with any more readings. They're quite happy. So I've had a letter actually yesterday to say I'm on the list to have this taken out, so I'm just waiting for that. And then just the other, the ailments that we all get, like a bad back, etc. But that's just sort of quickly going through those things, and that's what I currently have, and hope to not have to add any to that list. But for that, I take 32 tablets per day. Some of those tablets are actually to counteract side effects of some of the other tablets, okay? So the more you have wrong, the more tablets you take, then you end up having to take tablets to counteract side effects. And I also inject myself into my stomach once a week with a biological injection for the arthritis. So yeah, that's that, Emily. Catherine said, chat a bit more about my twin pregnancy. My first son, Nathan, my first daughter, Holly, my second son, Luke, and then I was pregnant. And, I never found out the sort of sex of my children right up until the very last one. And that was, well, I'll tell you why in a minute. Yeah, and I was just pregnant, didn't think anything of it. I'd had all my normal blood tests, all my normal scans, everything, all my normal midwife appointments. I had morning sickness, the same as I had with my other pregnancies, no different. It was pretty much, every pregnancy was pretty much the same. And some people say they carry differently if it's a girl, they carry differently if it's a boy. I carried the same with every single one of mine. So, yeah, I wouldn't have ever been able to say I carried that way because it was a girl or a boy, because I always carried the same. And then when I was 32 weeks pregnant, I had some pains, like contractions. They were going on for a little bit, and I thought, oh, maybe I ought to just pop up. At the time, I lived in Hythe in the New Forest, and our hospital was just like a little cottage hospital, and that's where I'd had Luke. That's where I was seeing my midwife, etc. And so I just popped up there and sort of said, look, I'm having a few pains. I don't quite know if it's normal or not, but it's enough for me to sort of to come along. So she's sort of like, all my measurements, she measured me, my belly, they measure you and everything. All of those, all the way along with all of mine, were all very, very similar. And there was no different to my fourth pregnancy to my third pregnancy. I was still measuring roughly the same, And she said, well, let's just sort of see how it goes. Let's see if they go off. But what I will do is I'll send you over for a scan to the Princess Anne in Southampton, which is like the gynae paediatric hospital, maternity hospital. So I went over there and had my scan. The stenographer was doing the scan, and she said to me, has anything ever been mentioned to you at all that they could see two heads? And I was like, oh my, no. And at that stage, I thought, I've got a baby with two heads. That's all I could think about. I've got a baby with two heads. And she said, would you mind if I go and get a doctor? So then I was like really worried, Anyway, the doctor comes in and he takes a bit of time. They're always very quiet, aren't they, when they're like really concentrating to get it right. So he was, scanning away with the old jelly and the thingamajig. And he said, has anyone ever suggested to you that you've got twins? And I said, no. He said, you've got twins, you're having twins. And so we were like, oh, so shocked. I mean, I had happy tears and shocked tears all at the same time. My belly was going up and down, where I was like laughing but crying, and of course I had to get all the measurements, and then I was booked in for all these scans, because of course I only had like the normal ones leading up till then, and of course they didn't realise I was having twins till 32 weeks and all the rest of it. And they said that both, I had identical twin boys, and they were lying literally behind each other, and their heartbeat was in sync with each other, because every time my midwife, you know, they listen to your heartbeat and the babies. They only ever heard mine and one other heartbeat. So yeah, that was like a real shock. So me thinking, you know, like I've always been one of those mums that if I can, what I used in one pregnancy, I'd use in the next one. What I used with one new baby, I'd use with the next one, etc., etc. I was never one of these to go out and buy all new, like loads of them do these days. But then, of course, I did have to go out and buy some more because we didn't have to do everything. Yeah, and then when the twins, I think I was about 35 weeks, and they thought that the twins, one of the twins was a fair bit bigger than the other one, because they take all measurements, which means they can sort of weigh what the babies sort of weigh in the womb. And they said one was £2 something, one was £4 something. And so they'd like to take me in for a couple of weeks bed rest, so that I, hopefully, you know, the smaller twin could get a little bit bigger. So I did that, and then at 38 weeks, I was taken in to be induced, because back then they didn't like you to go over 38 weeks. So I must have been home for maybe a week. Then they wanted me to be induced. So I went in to be induced, and like with the twins, you have a much bigger delivery room. It has to be bigger because you have two teams from special baby care come up. So one team is for one twin, one team is for the other twin. You have like the two incubators there. You have the consultant delivered me. I don't know what they do these days, because bearing in mind this was 30 odd years ago now, but my consultant actually delivered me. So anyway, they discovered that twin one was head down, he was ready to come out. I didn't know I was having two boys at the time. And the second twin was laying across, he was transverse. So of course, if he didn't move around once the first twin was out, they'd have to sort of like palpate my tummy and try to move him. And so they were there with the anaesthetist and everything, all ready in case they had to. What they graphically said was, put a hand in and flip the baby around. Anyway, they didn't have to do that. So anyway, I was 38 weeks. They came round to sort of start the labour. But when they examined me, I was 3 centimetres dilated already. So I'd already started labour. So I went into labour all on my own, and had Joshua. He was £6 4 ounces, so he was the smaller one that was now £6 4 ounces. And then, although Lewis was transverse, they were able to sort of palpate and move my tummy, and it flipped him around. He came out head first, but looking up. So with Josh, I had him, you know, no problem at all. With Lewis, could I push that head out? No, I couldn't. So I had to be cut for the second one. And isn't it weird? Did you think you've just literally delivered one baby? You certainly think that there would be enough elasticity, shall we say, to push the next one out? No. Yeah, so that's the story behind my twins. I'll just quickly say about my last one, which was Hannah. They gave me so many scans with Hannah, because I just kept saying, are you sure there's not two? Are you sure it's only one? So they were like, I think we'll just give you another scan. And in one of those scans, they said to me, do you know what? We can see the sex of your baby if you want to know. And I said, you know what, I've never wanted to know, and I've had 5 lovely surprises, but I think I will know. I think I'll find out this time, because with it being my 6th one, it was easier to know, so I knew if I was going to have to sort out the boys' clothes, the girls' clothes, or what I was doing. So they said it was a girl. Cheryl. Yeah, so Cheryl was asked about our children, so pretty much covered it really, but I'll quickly sort of go over it again. So I had Nathan. Nathan was born in 82. I had Holly, she was born in 84. I had Luke, he was born in 88. The twins were born in 89, and Hannah was born in 91. So I had 6 children in 9 years. yes, I went boy, girl, boy, 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 girl. I loved it. I just loved being a mum. Well, I love being a mum, but I loved having all the kids around me and everything, you know. It was just, I loved being pregnant. I loved giving birth. I loved breastfeeding my babies. I loved that smell of a newborn baby when you put them on your shoulder, and I love the skin to skin. I just love all of that. I was very, very lucky. I was so lucky to be able to conceive. I was so lucky to be able to deliver my babies without any cesarean sections, and to be able to breastfeed every single one of them. And to have great pregnancies where I bloomed. Pregnancy just suited me, you know. Yeah, I've been absolutely blessed with that, definitely. And then of course Chris has got 2 children. He's got 2 daughters. Alison was born in 81 and Amanda was born in 84, so similar ages to Nathan and to Holly. But yeah, he's got the 2 girls. One of the girls is blonde and one of the girls is brunette. Chalk and cheese, probably in most ways, you know. Heidi has said, what was mine and Chris's wedding like? Okay, so we had quite an elaborate wedding, in all honesty. I had been married before and I had a white wedding, you know, the first time round. Chris didn't, and he sort of said, I want to experience not necessarily a white wedding, you know, we're too old for that, we were, but a big wedding, you know, a nice big wedding. And also I think because we already had our children and a certain amount of our grandchildren, we wanted it to be a whole family affair, and we knew that our photograph album, our wedding album, would be a family album, if you like. So Chris he had taken his pension from work. We had the money for it, and so we already had a home and everything in it. We didn't really, you know, need anything really, apart from, I would have been happy either way, I have to be honest with you, but Chris wanted it to be more elaborate, so that's what he got. So we got married in the New Forest. We had a winter wedding. It was all very Christmassy themed. The hotel put their Christmas tree up that week, and they were really nice. They said, we'll decorate it to your colours if you'd like, so they did that. Yeah, it was just really, really lovely. I had my 2 daughters as my bridesmaids. One of my boys walked me down the aisle. We had 3 of Chris's grandchildren. Casey was a bridesmaid and 2 of the boys were page boys. They were the only grandchildren there on Chris's side at that time. My side, my son and my daughter, they'd each had a son each, and actually their babies were born within 10 days of each other, so that was another busy weekend. We were actually booked to go away on holiday, and then the babies came, and I'm like, I can't go, they're my first grandchildren, can't go. So we spent the whole weekend sort of like visiting newborns. Yeah, it was lovely. They were just about walking, really. They were 18 months old, and they did a little walk up the aisle, so flipping cute, honestly, holding on to Holly and Hannah's hand, so sweet. So we had a really nice big wedding there. It was quite elaborate. We had a lovely wedding breakfast. We had, our tables were like Rudolph, Donna, Dasher, all the rest, all the reindeers. They were all sort of headed up with that. The whole thing was just absolutely lovely. A really big expense that we had actually is we had the London Community Gospel Choir came down. Yeah, and they performed for us. It was brilliant for everybody. We could choose which colour robes we wanted them to be in, and we chose like the burgundy because we had a lot of burgundy themes in our wedding, you know. Yeah, they came down and sang, and it was amazing. And we didn't tell anybody, so they kind of got sneaked in to the room that was then turned into like the evening room, you know, the dance floor, etc. And yeah, they were sneaked in and they were behind the curtain, and it was kind of arranged that at some point at a particular time, people would be called into this room, and Chris wanted to just do a few thank yous to people because we wanted it to be later in the evening, because we wanted all the evening guests to be there so that they could, you know, they could see it as well. So and Chris got on the stage and he said, you know, I'd just like to say a few thank yous and blah, de, blah, de, blah. And he was sort of chatting away, you know. And then he said, and I'd just like to say that this is the happiest day of my life. As he said that, the curtains opened and they were singing, oh, happy days. Yeah, they were singing, oh, happy days. And then they, oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was amazing. And then Chris had said to me, like, obviously whilst we were planning the wedding and everything, I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. We did spend a ton of money on it, but we could do it at that time. I mean, obviously, I mean, you live for the day, don't you? I mean, we do. We live for now, live for the moment. If we had put that money away, yeah, we'd have had it there for now, but who's to say that we'd have got to now? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we had it, we spent it on what we wanted to. Chris said to me, when we were planning it, where would you like to go for your honeymoon? And I said, oh, I'd love to go to Bora Bora. And he was like, where's that? It's in the South Pacific. If that's where you want to go, that's where we go, he said. Vanessa, this is my last question, guys, okay? Who's my best friend? When I was at school, in my senior school, my best friend was Pauline. Pauline, if you're watching this, you know you are. Yeah, we were best of mates. We still are mates. We just don't get to see each other anymore. You know what time does. But yeah, she's my best mate. And then as I kind of got older, was first married and sort of had Nathan. My best friend was Heather. And she still is my best mate. Heather really is my best mate. You've probably heard me talk about Heather loads and loads and loads. And then Heather, I mean, we just lived in each other's pockets, basically. We did, you know. Her husband worked away as well, and we had a lot of time on our own, but we spent it together. So yeah, yeah, our kids basically grew up together in a way. We spent a lot of time together. Heather and her husband and her family, they moved. Yeah, they went to Canada. Well, actually, they went to America first, and they went to Canada, and she's been out there ever since. She's been out there 20 odd years now. But fortunately, I do get to see her. Yeah, she does come over, bless her. I now need to get over there. I was going to go over, then of course I broke my flipping humerus, and then all this stuff, pandemic. She was going to come back again last year, but obviously couldn't. So yeah, once we know, all the flights are sorted out and everything, either she'll come here or we'll go there. But yeah, I'll get to see Heather again soon. But my other best friend here was Wendy. So Heather had already gone to Canada, and I'd met Wendy, and of course, we spent tons of time together. Wendy and Tom. She was the most wonderful, wonderful lady, lovely friend. And I still feel like she's here with us because she did sadly pass away, as you know, if you've watched me for a while. And then sort of several weeks later, Tom passed away as well. He literally died of a broken heart, that guy. Yeah, but I don't dwell on that too much because it just upset me. But I still feel like they're here. It's not real yet. It still doesn't seem real to me. But they are like my little lifetime of my best friends. And now, I suppose I also should say that Chris is my best friend as well, but in a totally different way. He's a guy, he's my husband, so it's all a little bit different, but then, they're still your best mate as well, aren't they? So that's it then, my lovelies. That's the next 8 done, and I don't think I'll do any more for a while because, gosh, I don't know, how long has this taken me? 40 odd minutes. I'll see if I can edit it down a little bit to speed it up a bit because it's a bit lengthy, but I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give me a thumbs up. You've got to know me a little bit more now. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, maybe consider subscribing, and if you press that notification bell, you know what happens. You get notified that I've done my new next video. So I'll talk to you all in the next one. Bye, my loves. Bye.